welcome to the first week of March. This pretty much embodies our day up here in Canada today. It feels like spring, but we are totally still getting snow. I did some major spring cleaning, prepped our little girl's room, changed it all around this morning, and all before 8:15. Thanks to them waking me up at 5:45 on a Sunday. Always gotta love that. So let's get into my blog. I did a great blog about short squeezes, and definitely check that out if you have any sort of question about that and why a lot of it does squeeze, because a lot of them do squeeze. Many of them, it is lower float scenarios. Many of the small cap traders are following these low floats. I even have on here, you know, if you do want to follow those sort of stocks, then you can go to Trade Ideas and then you can download the cloud link so that you can actually take that scanner and scan for them as well. So I'll turn this into a link too, so you guys can go ahead and click right on through and then take the cloud link and upload it. And if you guys haven't followed me on Twitter, definitely do that. I do post new stuff about what's going on, and on Instagram too. I post things on Instagram that will disappear because sometimes it's not good to have something like this. You might not be able to see it. Let me pull it up over here. So this, I posted this on the 26th. That was, I believe that was Monday night. And what happened, it was Tuesday night. So this was the close on Tuesday, 22.77. This is the active trader from Thinkorswim. And you can see this is what traded. That is 1 billion shares at 22.77. That is a $23 billion position, more or less. So you're looking at this and it's like, wow. Well, this is obviously a big guy, right? Because who has $23 billion of pocket change lying around, right? So watching this, I put that up, and then I waited to see what the direction was of this stock, and sure enough, it is GDX. So GDX, that was the 26th right here. GDX closed at 22.77. Look at this downward movement. Now the question is, how far down is this $23 billion position going to go? We had pretty big volume here, 78 million shares, but still that 1 billion, you know, with the dark pool, I've learned so much with the dark pool, thanks to Stephanie Kammerman, the stock whisperer. And, you know, that 1 billion that was traded, they might not have had all of their position filled. So they might be, you know, saying, oh, well, we still have our order here, so we're not really going to print all that volume yet. I don't know all the technicalities for them in, you know, printing their trades, but they could be saying, hey, we really wanted to sell 2 billion up here, so our whole order didn't get filled, so we're not going to print all that order. But the volume is higher here. It did break down. You know, it's not as big as the volume right here. The biggest volume that we saw was down here at 1994. So that was above, this is a 20 moving, simple moving average on the daily. This light blue is the 200-day moving average. So we might see it come all the way down to 2060 this week, which would be pretty amazing. But that is a big, big position to go against. So please make sure that if you are short GDX, you might want to, if you're long, you might want to consider checking out your position and how much you are willing to risk. We did break down below this, so it looks, you know, like we're in a downward motion right now, and we could continue on down further. So I'd say, you know, maybe 2150 right here. It could go to 2149 and then bounce a little bit. Or it could just continue on down, you know, 2149, then I'd say 2134, and then, you know, down to 2088, 21, obviously 2080, and then down here to 2060 if we can go all the way down to the 200-day moving average. But this has been pretty rocking, and if you are one of my Instagram followers, you'll also get little secret stuff like that I put up that disappears, because I don't want to show everyone that I know that I'm watching all of this stuff, because the big guys probably don't want to know that I'm seeing all this stuff. Like I saw 1.5 million shares of Amazon at 1543.85. So definitely watch out for that sort of stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the indexes in review. As always, guys, you know I've had my Series 7, but I am no longer current, so please do your due diligence in trading. I do put up some Fibonacci's up here as well, just to watch and see if those fib levels hold. So here, let's go ahead and get into the SPY, right? So we have sort of a week of, let's pull it back on the weekly chart. You can see it has been down a little bit, but we came to the top of this candle and we definitely went ahead and surged back up. The volume is a bit higher this week than last week and it's pushed above. However, in this downward trend, we've broken this trend line here to the downside. So we're going to have to go back up and test it. So I'd say, you know, maybe 280, 274. No, I'd say probably up here, we're going to test maybe 284 if we can get up there. On Monday, 284 could be, or this week really, could be a test for it. If we can go ahead and get back up into this upward channel up in here, we do have the 20 period moving average, 8 EMA and 4 EMA. It keeps going down the averages and bouncing and comes down and bounces and comes down and bounces. So we're on that staircase up for now. We did hit some resistance here back on the 25th of February, so that could act as resistance again. So if we do break that, I think we will go ahead and surge a bit higher up into the 282, 82, 384 area. For this week, it is looking a bit overbought potentially on the RSI, but I would stay still up to 80, which would be good. But we do have higher volume on Friday as well, which pushed it up. So that should be pretty good as well. So we shall see what goes into the week. We also have NASDAQ, the Qs. Again, we are testing that 174.83 level up there. Same scenario, we're going down and we keep bouncing higher. Again, higher volume that pushed it up on Friday. And then we have the Russell, which the Russell's been pretty constant here, but we are holding above this 200-day moving average. We came up, broke through it, tested, pulled back down to the averages, and now going in the upward motion. So we shall see if we're able to break this 159.50 area and continue in an upward motion. We did break this downward trend from on the weekly chart, which we had back here. This was 4 weeks of downward motion, downward selling, but we're seeing more volume, right? So we did have a bit of a pullback here, but we had buyers and the week up higher, up above this candle. So we do for now have the upward momentum. So let's go ahead and get into the watch list for this week. First one on the potential longs is BPTH. Now this is a great one for short squeeze with that perfect example. Look at this massive volume, 60.44 million, and it has 526,000 in the float. I didn't do the math, but that looks like 120 times the float volume, or 121 times the volume. The float was traded on Friday alone, and it has had this downward trend line right here. You know, we've had a downward trend to it, and it looks like it's broken it to the upside, right? So we've had this holding below pretty much, and now it's surging up. So we could see this go up big time. It is a biotech. Many times you will see that these are pumped up, and then they do have an offering, which they'll say, oh, well, you know, sometimes they'll take it up for 3 days. Sometimes they will do it on the first day, but be cautious if you do trade it, because many times you will see that an offering does come out where they're trying to raise funding for more research and development, so it can go ahead and come on down. It did have a split back here on the 14th, so sometimes you'll see that they have press release, it pumps up, and then they have that offering, and it comes right back down. So be cautious and trade with proper risk management. For this one, I would say a support of 650 and a resistance of 884. It did have 52% short float volume on Friday, which is pretty crazy because it only has 526,000 in the float. So that might be a nice squeeze going into Monday if it does have potential movement as well. Next one on the long list is CIFS. Now, CIFS, I did have this on my watch list for once it broke out right back here. Right back here at 250. I had 258 actually, and sure enough, look, it broke that and it ran up end of day. The reason why is because it's 5.7 million in the float, and it had a pretty high short float volume. This is China. Remember, we do have the trade wars going on with China right now, so any sort of news, these Chinese stocks that have been heavily shorted are tending to run up. So keep that in mind with Baidu, Roku, IQ, Huya, actually, it's Huya, And CCC, CIFS, so CCCL, a lot of these Chinese sector stocks are seeing this same sort of movement. They've been beaten down. You can see the support of 350, 397. You can see that they've been beaten down over the end of the year with the trade wars, and now they're starting to really move up. So that could be potential sector to watch for the lower float stocks as well, running up. We also have CSLT. Oh, I didn't put it on here. CSLT had a nice day on Friday. You can see I had this back here way back in the past, and sure enough, it's been going up from there. So if you've been on my watch list, you saw, okay, hey, once it broke 236, look at that. It's already up to $4. This one has 80.7 million in the float. It was 20.27% short float volume on Friday. And we'll go ahead, give it a support of 386 and a resistance of $4 to be broken. You can see it tested once, twice. So will that third time be the charm, or will there be a big seller on the books at $4 and this is going to crash down? Just keep it on watch as well, because the market really will determine, the massive volume will determine the direction. Another one on the long list from Friday was ZS. And I had that, hey, if it broke pre-market high right here, 58.59, be a good potential long. Sure enough, it closed up at 60.58. That's a nice $2 to the upside. And we've got a resistance of 61.34 and a support of 59.98. This one did have earnings back here on the 28th on Thursday, so it had a nice move up from there. And it has 60 million in the float and 40.92% short float volume on Friday. Last one on the potential long list is Watt. All right, so Watt, we've got potential support of 650 and resistance of 705. You see it's way up higher than where it was traded on Friday, but if you back it out, it did have that balance area back here when it pulled back down on Wednesday into Thursday. So this one could have a nice move to the upside. It did have earnings, but when we look at it overall for the year, you can see that it pulled back down, but it's really far down, and we have this gap here. So that's why I do have that 705, is if it breaks this to the upside, we have a nice move potentially up to $8.10. This does have 18 million in the float, so those shorts that shorted it all the way down might be getting squeezed on the way back up. You can see that did happen, to Stamp last week. I had it on my short list, but it squeezed into Monday morning and pushed up a nice $15 from open, and now it's on the downward trend, but it seems like it found support in 91.74. This could be a potential long swing based on the fact that it is holding this 91 level. If it did break down below 81, I would definitely get out personally, but do trade proper risk management for yourself, so that could be a potential long swing there. Let's get into our shorts for the week. Potential short of NCI. This had earnings, dividend, downward movement. We do have the low down here of the year of 1877. It hit 1975 on Friday, so I would put that down as support to be broken. It is showing oversold on the daily for the RSI, so it might have a bit of a bounce to it before it does continue on down this week. And 2022 for resistance to be broken to the upside. It does have 41.6 million in the float. Next on our potential shorts, we have PanW. PanW, you can see I had this on the long before for my watch list, and sure enough, boom, I had, if it breaks, yep, nice potential upside. And then it did come back down. However, if you'd gotten in down here at support, you would have been pretty happy with a nice, $30 gain or 15% on the stock. So here we had 1, 2, 3 days down. It's coming in touching support potentially of this moving average. So I would put for 244.28 to be broken to the downside. If that does break to the downside, it could continue to fill this gap down to the prior high right here of 239.83. So it could have a nice $10 move to the downside. Excuse me, $6 move to the downside. For resistance to be broken for a potential squeeze up of 249.07. It does have 91 million in the float. Next on the short list, we have Ntnx, which was on my list on Friday. Look, I love leaving these things here so you guys can see I had potential resistance of 39.58 and 36.31 to the support to be broken to the downside. Sure enough, opened above and boom, nice short right off the open and pretty much down all day. Had a little tiny bounce off the bottom of 33. So I would put 33.08 as our potential support to be broken and 35.02 on the downside to be for resistance on the way up. So you can see, look at that, nice short potential all day. First wave right here and then second on the way down. Had a little bounce into midday and then trended down into the close. So it looks like it's holding actually right here around 33.50. So you could use that as a level to be broken to the downside, but I would be more cautious with 33 as the level of support to be broken down. And Ntnx does have 142 million in the float. Next on the short list is WUBA. Now WUBA does have a lower float to it. Oh, excuse me, no, WUBA, yeah, I think it has a lower float to it. Let me go on short squeeze. I think I had misinformation there. I don't think it's 92 million. Let's double check that. Yep, 98 million. All right. And so here I'd say support to be broken to the downside of 62.02. You can see this just came down all day. And a resistance of 64.19. If you do look at it on a one-year chart, so WUBA had a nice run up, boom, earnings. We had a nice gap down. Now we closed down, end of the day. It sort of filled this gap to the downside. I would say potential targets to the downside of 60.26 and then 59.09, those two dashed lines right there. And it has 98.2 million in the float. Last one on the potential short list is Tesla. Look at this. Tesla has this trend line that it keeps bouncing off of. And this week might be the day that it continues down. We do have bigger volume there, so it might be buying volume to push it back up, or it could be volume to sell it. So let's look at the 15-minute chart. We've got it. It came down, bounced a bit, and then bounced, but it did look like it's holding right around 294. So I would look for support of 291 or really 290 to be broken to the downside and 299 to the upside. Potential long swings for the week. I have AR, longer term, you know, if you want to hold on to it for maybe a week or a month potentially. So this has had 1, 2, 3 bounces. This looks like a double bottom here with a little volume up. So this one could be potential longer term swing. It's an oil energy stock as well. So keep that in mind, as we do see that oil tends to be rising into the summer months. So this might have a nice upward movement to it going into the summer. So I would say look at that support of 860, 850 area for potential stop. Of course, this is all my opinion, once again, so do not hold it to stone and trade with proper risk management. MD as well. This one does look like it's in a downward motion right now. However, I would look for it to find a bottom and bounce and continue moving up. We do see more volume coming in here, and we had massive volume come in here. Look, it was little volume and then a little bit more, and then massive volume. So look for that volume to come in. And then if it does come in, I would say go ahead and follow that volume, because that volume is going to be what moves the stock. You can see back here, massive volume moved it up, earnings. Then it had massive volume, more volume, and then massive volume again, and it moved it up. So keep an eye out for that volume. It's not always going to be buying volume, but do watch it and just follow the volume. That's really going to keep you on the path. We had Weight Watchers that had earnings this week. It gapped down. This is a lower float. I believe it has roughly 19 million in the float, or I think it's 28 million. And so this one found a bottom of 1880. It was up at 100 this year and just had a downward turn to it. So Oprah is still partial owner of it. So this could run right on back up to 100 this year with proper, as a value trade with proper management and advertising, everything like that. It is showing a little bit oversold at the moment, so it might be a good one to fill this gap up at least to 28. We also have ABEO. which has been now cashed in with this. This is a biotech stock, but it looks like it's found a bottom of support of 635 area right here, and it could continue on up. Last one on the potential long list, HZN. So HZN had this bottom, and it looks like it's been in an upward motion. It does look like it's broken this level right here of 284 and potential gap, no resistance really up to 490. So it might have a nice move to it, even all the way up to 550. All right, guys, as always, if you like my content, please like and subscribe. Definitely check out the Modern Trader Summit. You can see it behind me. And I would love to see you there in person. So please check it out, like and subscribe, and shoot me an email if you have any questions. Carpe profit, guys. Seize those profits and trade one at a time. Have a great day.